A 28-year-old man, no money, no friends, no future. He feels like his life means nothing. He spent 4 years studying fine arts, only to end up washing windows on the outside of skyscrapers, dangling hundreds of feet in the air. In this city, there isn't a single person he can just call up. He's withdrawn, quiet, and completely indifferent to life. He doesn't know why he's even alive. Working up on those high floors, he feels no fear at all. When chatting with co-workers, he compares himself to an insect. He feels like he's completely disposable, like if he dropped dead one day, it wouldn't matter to anyone. One day, Ah-hong is out washing windows on a building when he runs into his ex-girlfriend. They both used to study painting together. Now she's a rising name in the art world, while he gave up painting long ago and became a janitor. The reunion is painfully awkward. His ex invites him to come see her solo art exhibition the next day. Ah-hong gives a vague, non-committal response and wraps up the conversation quickly. But the next day, he shows up anyway. His ex had something come up last minute and isn't there. Ah-hong has zero interest in the paintings on the walls. He glances around and leaves. That evening after work, Ah-hong suddenly collapses. He's taken to the hospital, blood drawn, CT scan done. Then he rides his bike back to his rental apartment alone. He doesn't think much of passing out. He heats up some takeout he bought, takes a few bites, then puts down his chopsticks. His appetite has been terrible ever since graduation. And just like that, another day quietly slips by. A few days later, the hospital calls and tells him to come pick up his test results, but hospital policy requires that a family member accompany him. Ah-hong has no family in this city, so he reaches out to his ex-girlfriend and asks her to pretend to be his older sister. While they wait, the conversation drifts to painting. Ah-hong acts completely uninterested, and his attitude makes his ex furious. In her eyes, he has real talent. If he just stuck with it, he could have made it. They get into an argument, and she storms out of the hospital. Right then, a loud argument nearby catches Ah-hong's attention. A teenage girl is staring down everyone around her, with a sharp, defiant look in her eyes. Ah-hong just happens to glance over as he walks by, and the girl instantly turns her anger on him. Left with no choice, Ah-hong pays the man back for the damaged school uniform, then pulls out another $1,000, and asks the girl to pretend to be his little sister. The doctor tells Ah-hong he has late-stage stomach cancer. He has 3 months to live, at most. The news hits like a freight train. Ah-hong has no idea what to do. Before he can even process it, the girl Jenny, who just heard about his diagnosis, suddenly looks at him and asks, "Do you want to die together?" And so, Ah-hong lets Jenny hop on the back of his bike, and the two of them set off on a journey to find a place to die. Despite his diagnosis, Ah-hong decides to check into the hospital and start treatment. His parents, who live out in the countryside, rush to Tokyo the moment they hear the news. They try to convince him to transfer to a hospital closer to home, but Ah-hong refuses, and they don't push it. His hospital roommate is a man named Yokota, who has esophageal cancer, a less advanced stage than Ah-hong's. Ah-hong can barely eat a thing, while Yokota has a huge appetite. The moment they meet, Yokota offers to finish whatever Ah-hong can't eat. After the meal, Yokota takes Ah-hong out of the room and introduces him to Takuto, a young patient staying on the same floor. But Ah-hong keeps everyone at arm's length. No matter how warm Yokota and Takuto are, he stays cold and distant. The chemo side effects kick in fast. Not long after being admitted, Ah-hong starts throwing up. Yokota hands him a few photos of attractive women he's been saving, claiming that looking at pretty girls helps take the edge off the pain. Unable to face what's coming, Ah-hong slips out of the hospital late one night, without telling the doctors. He wants to leave everything behind, and just live like a normal person again. The next morning, he goes straight back to work, telling his co-workers he just had a minor illness. But mid-shift, his body gives out without warning. Before he can even react, he loses control of his bladder and bowels right there. In that moment, it hits him with brutal clarity. The cancer is real. He is dying, and that is real too. Trying to calm himself down, he wanders the streets and starts washing the windows of random storefronts. A shop owner comes out and tells him to get lost, and the two of them get into a physical fight. The exertion makes his stomach condition flare up on the spot. Ah-hong ends up back in the hospital. Yokota takes him to Takuto's lounge, though Yokota's real reason for going isn't to see Takuto, but to sneak photos of the good-looking nurses inside and show them to Ah-hong. That afternoon, Takuto stops by the room and brings Ah-hong a piece of cake and a drawing he made by hand. Ah-hong still can't eat, and he wants nothing to do with anything art-related. The second Takuto leaves, he throws both the cake and the drawing in the trash. Then Takuto comes back. He forgot something, and walks in just in time to see his gifts in the garbage. The hurt on his face is impossible to miss. Ah-hong knows he just crushed this kid, but what he doesn't expect is that Takuto doesn't say a word about it. The next day, he shows up and gives Ah-hong a good luck charm anyway. That kind of unconditional kindness, no strings, no guilt trip, cracks something open in Ah-hong that's been sealed shut for a long time. Wanting to make it right, Ah-hong decides to pick up a pencil again and draw Takuto a superhero sketch, but he has no art supplies. And no one in this city he can just ask to grab something for him. After thinking it over, he ends up paying Jinyi to go buy what he needs. She says she's busy. But an hour later, she's standing in the hospital lobby with everything he asked for. She follows him up to the room and polishes off every bit of the lunch Ah-hong couldn't touch. Watching Jinyi's young face, Ah-hong suddenly can't figure it out. Why would a high school girl want to die with a stranger that day? This high school girl's life is harder than most adults could handle. Every night, she cooks dinner for her mom, a drunk who takes her anger out on everyone around her, and takes care of her grandmother, who has Alzheimer's. Caring for an Alzheimer's patient can slowly destroy the whole family. For years, Jinyi has been living under the weight of depression and anxiety. She often thinks, if she were just gone, she wouldn't have to deal with any of this anymore, and all the pain would finally stop. One day in gym class, a thought suddenly crossed her mind. If she ran hard enough, could she run herself to death? She pushed herself until she collapsed on the ground from oxygen deprivation. That's when she realized dying isn't as easy as it sounds. Maybe she wanted to get close to death. Maybe she felt like Ah-hong understood her in a way no one else did. Either way, Jinyi started visiting him at the hospital more and more. The two of them would often go out and walk around together. One day, Ah-hong's ex-girlfriend showed up with her new boyfriend, and the guy got in Ah-hong's face and humiliated him. Ah-hong just stood there and took it, but Jinyi stepped in and fired back without hesitation.
相手の相手でわざとダサいの着てるんですよね。ダサくておしゃれみたいな。
A young man who had completely given up on life. A high school girl who faced every day with strength and energy. Slowly, something grew between them. A connection that was hard to define. Not quite friends, not quite lovers. One weekend, Jinyi bought a few bags of goldfish, Ah-hong's favorite, and snuck him into the school swimming pool while no one was around. She jumped in and swam, while Ah-hong sat quietly on the edge, watching. In that moment, everything felt perfectly still and beautiful. Ah-hong gave Tuoren one of his hand-drawn sketches, and just like that, the two became friends. Through Tuoren, Ah-hong also got to know his mother. She told Ah-hong that Tuoren had been fighting cancer with a smile on his face, and that the kid truly believed he was going to beat it. The people around him slowly started to change Ah-hong. He began taking his treatment seriously, started accepting the food Hung Tian brought him, and every week, he went to church with Tuoren and his mom to pray. There was a statue of the Virgin Mary inside the church. Tuoren's mom couldn't make sense of it. The Virgin Mary was holding her dead child in her arms. So why did she look so calm? Ah-hong didn't have an answer, but somewhere deep down, he felt like, maybe the Virgin Mary understood something most people don't. That everyone, including her own child, is moving toward death from the moment they're born. On the way back from church to the hospital, Ah-hong ran into Jinyi riding her bike past him. She looked full of life. This girl who once wanted to die had somehow become the reason he wanted to keep living. Later, Tuoren was scheduled for a major surgery. If it went well, he would make a full recovery and finally go home. But the day after the surgery, Tuoren's mom came with news that shattered Ah-hong completely.
タクトは亡くなりました。
His closest friend was suddenly gone. Ah-hong was crushed by grief. And that grief quickly turned into a darkness he couldn't climb out of. He stopped reaching out to Jinyi. The two of them had a huge blowout fight over it. Ah-hong's test results came back. The cancer had spread to other organs. The side effects of chemo were too much to bear, and Ah-hong made the decision to stop treatment. He went back to his hometown to rest. Everything there was exactly as he remembered. His mom was just as warm and gentle as always. His dad was just as quiet as ever. Ah-hong sat down with his parents and told them he didn't have much time left. His dad went silent and kept piling food into his bowl, his head down. His mom opened her mouth but couldn't find the words, her eyes already full of tears. One afternoon, Ah-hong was cleaning the windows at home, when his dad stood beside him and quietly asked if he still had any of his old paintings. Ah-hong said he kept a few. His dad said he wanted to buy one. He never said it out loud, but Ah-hong understood exactly what he meant. His dad was telling him, this kid who believed he had nothing to offer, that no matter what anyone else thought, his art had real value. Ah-hong walked up to the hill behind his childhood home. There was sunlight, green leaves, and a soft breeze, blue skies, white clouds, and the sound of cicadas everywhere. Everything around him was alive, and in that moment, it hit him. He was going to lose all of it. He thought about his parents, who had always loved him. He thought about the friends he made at the hospital, and he thought about the girl who had given him a reason to want to live again. The more he thought, the harder it hurt. He started humming softly to himself, trying to push the pain back down. Sometime later, Ah-hong made a trip back to Tokyo to say his final goodbye to Jinyi. Jinyi begged him to go back to the hospital and keep fighting, convinced that medicine would find a way to save him someday. But Ah-hong had no fight left in him. Jinyi was so angry she shoved him into the swimming pool, screaming at him through her tears, even hitting him with her fists. Everything she did in that moment, as irrational as it looked, came from one single place. She just wanted him to live.
どうすれば生きる時間がもっと伸びるの？
The next day, Ahong went to the hospital to find Yokota, and asked him to film the entire process of him painting one last picture. He chose the bathroom of his apartment as his studio. After years away from painting, Ahong picked up a brush one final time, and used what little he had left to push back against death in the only way he knew how. A few days later, the painting was finished, and as the last brushstroke came to an end, so did Ahong's life. The painting he created with every last bit of his strength was a massive image of the Virgin Mary, with Genie as his model. It was the last thing he left behind in this world, and the most breathtaking thing he ever made. At the end of the story, not long after Ahong passed away, Yokota found Genie at the hospital where she had come to visit, and brought her to Ahong's home. There, Genie came face to face with a portrait of the Virgin Mary that looked exactly like her.